My story is my story. Lindsey Graham's story is just comical.
Donald Trump, I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. His policies are really bad for the country. He's not fit to be president of the United States. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot. I like the president. I am like the happiest dude in America right now. I am all in. Keep it up, Donald. I'm sure you're watching. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and then some.
That is a portion of a brand new campaign video that has just become public today. In fact, just become public tonight. It was created by Jaime Harrison, who joins us now for the interview. He's the former chairman of the Democratic Party in South Carolina. Mr. Harrison, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for being here.
Rachel. Thank you for having me on.
So we just let the cat out of the bag there a little bit.
Yeah, so the formal announcement will take place tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll be back in South Carolina tonight, and it's going to be tomorrow morning where I will formally announce that I'm running for the United States Senate for South Carolina against Lindsey Graham.
Now, when I spoke with you in 2016 ahead of that remarkable 2016 Democratic presidential primary in South Carolina, one of the things we spent a long time talking about was South Carolina's Democratic bench.
Yes.
The effect that it has on politics in that state, that the state is seen as a red state, is seen as a Republican-dominant state. And so people who are Democrats, who might be inclined toward political service, leave the state and seek it elsewhere. Because it doesn't seem like fertile territory. You've clearly decided that that's not true for you.
No, it's not true for me. And you remember I talked about a Clyburn Fellowship that I created that year. We have now trained 125 young people in every county in South Carolina, trained them to run for office themselves. So now we have newly elected members of the State House, school board, the county council, people who sit on boards of trustees. They're Clyburn Fellows, and many of them now are running the presidential campaigns that the 20-some-odd presidential candidates have in South Carolina. So we are really leading this whole new South, as we talked about, and I hope to be a part of that story with this campaign.
In terms of all those multitudinous Democratic presidential candidates who are running this year, obviously you're being showered with some attention in South Carolina. That does provide, among other things, opportunities for Democrats in the state to latch themselves to national candidates. Is it constructive thus far this year? Do you feel like the Democratic Party gets South Carolina, that the candidates are talking to the right people, making the right pitches, doing the right amount of listening in the right kind of places?
They are, Rachel. I am so proud of the campaigns that these candidates are running. They are going to every part of South Carolina. So they're not just going to Columbia and Greenville and Charleston, our big cities, but they're going into small counties, Oconee County, Jasper County, Barnwell County, and they're talking to constituents about all types of issues. Just in Denmark recently, I went there because they have a problem. I know you did so much great work on the Flint water issue. We have a problem in Denmark, South Carolina, a small town near my hometown of Orangeburg, where they've been putting this chemical in the water for 10 years. People's hair are falling out and those type of things. And so Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, a number of these candidates donated water and supplies and really are talking about these environmental justice issues. And that's really, really important.
In terms of the state's overall political cast, I think Democrats from outside the state look at South Carolina and they are pleased that South Carolina is an early state because it really affords the first test of whether or not candidates are mobilizing, speaking to, and learning from African-American constituents, which is such an important part of the Democratic electorate. It's existential, right? You either you win if you have it and you lose if you don't. I think the other thing, though, that's interesting is the ideological diversity in the Democratic Party in South Carolina. You've got the complete range of very conservative to very liberal Democrats.
Exactly right. Listen, and particularly in the African-American communities. So, you know, African-Americans will make up 60% of probably the primary vote. But I could say in that community, there's a lot of generational differences between older African-Americans and younger African-Americans on a whole variety of issues, from the issues of the environment to the issue about school and whether or not we should provide it for free or not, to the issues about equality and rights. I mean, there are a lot of diversity within those communities. And so I think the candidates are getting an opportunity to see that you can't just bring a canned message and think that that's going to resonate in the African-American community, because diversity that we see in the nation is a diversity that you see within that community.
Now, when you think about running against Senator Lindsey Graham, obviously he's an institution in the state. He's been in office for a very long time. The Trump era has been a little bit weird in Lindsey Graham years. Do you think that the senator's 180-degree U-turn on President Trump potentially gives you the chance to earn some crossover votes?
Well, I do, Rachel. You know my story. I grew up in Orangeburg, South Carolina, a small rural town. My mom was 16 years old and dropped out of high school to have me. My grandparents took care of me, and they had very limited education. But they taught me the value of hard work. They taught me the value of helping others, being your brother and your sister's keeper. They also taught me the value of character. What we are seeing with Lindsey Graham right now, it makes you question his character. I used to think that this was a guy who was a statesman, right? A guy who could stand above the fray and help solve the issues. But I've seen that he's what George Will called him, a political windsock. He's a chameleon that has changed his colors. We are on the verge. We saw with Stacey, we saw with Andrew, we're on the verge of a renaissance in the South, a new South. And I really hope people will help join me in this effort. Go to my website, JaimeHarrison.com, and Jaime spelled J-A-I-M-E. but we really are on the verge of changing something, and we've seen it even in recent elections in South Carolina. We picked up a congressional seat. We picked up a state Senate seat. We picked up a number of House seats when people, the pundits in D.C., didn't think we had a shot because they think, oh, it's Ruby Red, South Carolina. They can't win anything. Well, we're winning in South Carolina. It's all about investing and fighting.
Jaime Harrison, who's